Good afternoon, everybody. Wanted to jump on real fast before the big game tonight. It is the Sunday of the big game between the Eagles and the Chiefs. And yes, I keep saying the big game because I'm not allowed to say the actual title of the NFL championship game. So that's a good time. So just want to hop on real fast. The schedule was released this week for Kennesaw State. So I wanted to go over that. Welcome to the Hoot Hoot KSU podcast. So I'm going to do both. I'm going to talk about the big game tonight, and I'm also going to talk about my initial thoughts on the 2025 football schedule that was just released by Kennesaw State. Lots to get to. So, real fast about the game tonight. So, what I think is going to happen is I would say Eagles 31-21. That's what I'm going to go with tonight, 31-21 Eagles. Why do I think that? I think that anytime there's a rematch, I usually lean to the team that lost the first time around. Also, if you look at history, no team has ever won three back-to-back big games or championships in the NFL. It's hard to do. So I think that that's going against the Chiefs. Additionally, in just watching the teams play, and I'm not talking about the NFC Championship or the AFC Championship, just season-wise, I think we've all watched a lot of the Chiefs, and one thing that you can say is that they've definitely done a great job this year being successful while working with the limited roster. A lot of injuries. Rice earlier this season with the injury at the wide receiver position. Xavier Worthy's done a good job of kind of stepping up a little bit. Kelsey's definitely on the downward trend, but still dangerous. I don't know. I mean, just it's almost like they rode the defense a great deal this year. Kansas City did, as did Philadelphia, which I'll get to in a second. But Philly just has more offensive weapons. Mahomes, obviously, you can't stop Mahomes. There's controversy with the refs. I don't really pay much attention to that. The NFL is owned by 32 individual owners. They're certainly not in cahoots with officials to make the Chiefs win. That doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's some questionable calls, but there's questionable calls at every game. So with Philly, though, the defense is for real. And I think that that'll be the best defense that Kansas City has seen this year. I also think that if Jalen Hurts can play like he played against the Commanders and can complete passes, I think that the Eagles are very difficult to stop. Obviously, we all know about Saquon. I think he'll have a great game. I mean, what's to stop him? He's had a great game every game this season. It's one of those years where, it's a career season. And what a great way to cap it off with a win in the championship for the NFL for Saquon and the Philadelphia Eagles. I think Hurts plays just fine. Takes what's there, throws the tight end, one or two big plays to Brown, and then Smith is also there as a wide receiver, who's a great player also. I don't know. I just kind of feel it that way. I have nothing to base this on. I'm not a fan of either team. Growing up in Atlanta, I'm still a Falcons fan, so I've been through it like most Falcons fans. But just in watching it, my gut feeling is that the Eagles win. I don't think that it is so one-sided. I think that Philly probably pulls away in the end. I think it's probably a close first half, tight third quarter, and then the fourth quarter, Philly pulls away with it with a field goal and a touchdown to win by 10 points. That's what I think. I mean, we'll see if I'm right. I just have a feeling. I just think history's a funny thing. There's a reason why no team's won it three times. It's just hard. It's hard to get up. It's hard to be motivated. And yes, you'd be most motivated for this game as a professional football player, no doubt. But in not being there or not winning it, going back to teams that have won it in the past, there's complacency there. It's not the same preparation. It's less meaningful. I mean, it's human nature that if you've won something repeatedly, that it's not as desirable as it is when it has been untouched, that you've never won it, or that you've been there and you've lost it. Definitely the motivation is behind Philadelphia. with the Super Bowl, there's no home field. I mean, that just isn't a thing in the NFL, anyways. In fact, most road teams play better. I mean, have one more on the road than any other season. I believe that's a stat this year. So take that out of the equation. It just, who's got the nerves? Both veteran teams. I mean, Andy Reid's tough to go against with anything, but sooner or later, I mean, if you just don't have the players that the other team does, it will catch up with you. So we'll see. But like I said, I'm going to stick with my gut, which is 31-21. The Philadelphia Eagles are your NFL champions. I'm going to go ahead and shift over now to Kennesaw State, and with the schedule being released. So thank you again for joining me. Again, I've said this repeatedly, and I sound like a broken record almost. It's a great time to hop on board and to start paying attention to this team, I think. I think with a new coaching staff, with coming into Division I second year in Conference USA, it's a great time to kind of start moving over to Kennesaw State and not just ignoring that team. I think it's an exciting program. I think that the whole situation is very exciting. And so no one said that you can't be a fan of your predominant team, but don't sleep on Kennesaw State either. I think that it will be a fun team to watch, and I think it'll be a fascinating journey to kind of see what's about to happen. With new coaching, there's always the new coach bump, and so we'll see. I mean, we'll see what takes place. There's experience with this coaching staff at this level versus the past staff. So, I mean, I think that that's something to pay attention to. If you know what you're looking for and you have familiarity with coaching elite players, I think you know what you want to gain to. I'm not saying that Kennesaw State has elite players. I'm saying that you know where you want to go. You know what you're looking for, and you know how to coach with what you have. And again, to reiterate, Coach Mack has said repeatedly that they're going to coach based on the players that they have. I've said multiple times, I think it's a spread style offense. I think it has to be based on the gap of talent that you have at this level, especially just getting new and starting with this. So, do what keeps you in games. This isn't fun to discuss right here, but let me look at last year's stats real fast, because I think there's some just shocking numbers. And again, if there's any question of Bohannon being fired, I mean, you look at this and you take feelings out of the way and you just look at what was being produced on the field, and you understand why. You understand why there had to be a change. So last year, as we know, they were 2-10. One was a huge victory against Liberty, which was a big upset. If they didn't have that upset, you're looking at 1-11. So neither are great. Averaged 16.5 points a game. Their opponents, well, let me come back to that. That ranked as 129th in the nation out of 134 total teams. So that's obviously not going to get it done. When you look at the other side of things, the points that you're giving up are 31.2, which is 106th out of 134. So you're giving up a great deal of points while not scoring many points. So that's a recipe for disaster. Now, is that a defensive issue? It's tough to say, because defensively, if you think about it, if you cannot move the ball, the defense is going to get worn out, no matter what the talent level is, no matter what team we're talking about. If you can't get first downs, you can't score consistently, you can't hold on to the ball, then you're going to lose, because the defense cannot be on the field the whole time, because they're going to run out of gas. So offensively looking at it, that's where the focus should be immediately, is the offensive side of the ball. They had 22 total touchdowns last year, which is just sad. I mean, that can't happen. It just can't. Passing the ball for the season, they completed 156 completions of 297 attempts passing the ball. So they completed 156 passes last year, versus their opponents, who on average of Conference USA only. So we're just looking at like-to-like opponents. They completed on average, the other team's 244 passes. So, yeah, that's not great. That's not going to get it done. Additionally, 6 total passing touchdowns for Kennesaw State with 14 interceptions. So the passing game is a major issue. Not completing it, not scoring points on it, and turning it over. You can't turn the ball over if you're going to play keep away. If you're going to deflate the ball or anything like that, you cannot turn the ball over. And that's where I go back to last year's offense. It seems like it was all over the place. Well, who are we? What are we doing? And we're certainly not throwing it through the air much. And if we are throwing it through the air, we're not being successful. So, okay, well, let's run it then. Okay, well, let's look at the running stats then. So the rushing stats, they average 3 yards per rush. Their opponents in Conference USA average 4.6 yards per rush. Per game, Kennesaw State averaged for the season 114 yards rushing. Their opponents averaged 175.9 yards rushing in Conference USA. They had 13 total touchdowns rushing versus their opponents who are averaging 25 touchdowns rushing. So can't throw it, can't run it, can't stop anybody. So that is a recipe for disaster. And if ever there was a reason for a coaching change, there it is. And I think that they've made the right decision with going with an offensive play caller as a head coach, an offensive coach as the head coach. That is the problem. That is definitely the first thing that needs to be fixed. Definitely fix that, and then give the defense a chance to rest and adjust and see what they're capable of doing. As I've said before, there's no doubt in my mind about effort. There was definitely effort last year. You would definitely see that. I didn't see a lot of quit. I saw guys competing every single week, but at the same time, you can only do so much. I mean, if you're a defensive player, it's like, here we go again. Here we go again. We can't get a first down. I feel like we just got off the field, and now we're getting back on the field. So it happens at all levels of the sport, and it is definitely something that has an impact. It's not hard to figure this out of what went wrong and what needs to be improved, but you got to get players to improve it, or you got to get a system in place that can keep you competitive in some of these games. So hopefully that is what Coach Mack is focused on, and again, we'll find out more as time goes on with players, and we'll look at players and get an idea. Spring game is about, I think, 54 days away. So, see what we got in spring, see what kind of offense they're running, and kind of take a deeper dive into expectations as the season begins. But I did want to look at the schedule. So the schedule was released, I think, last week, so I wanted to talk about it for a second. In order, you've got Wake Forest, at Indiana, home against Merrimack College, home against Arkansas State, home against Middle Tennessee State, home against Louisiana Tech, on the road against FIU, home against UTEP, at New Mexico State, at Jacksonville State, home against Missouri State, and finishing up the season at Liberty. So I want to kind of take a deeper dive with these teams that we're playing and see kind of what can be done and what could be hoped for. Now, looking at Coach Mack's record every year that he was a head coach at his previous stop, which I believe is North Carolina State, he improved the team year over year until his final year, which he was let go or moved to a different position at the end of that school year, which I believe is 2017. His first year was, I think, 9-5. The second year was 8-4, and this final year was really good. I think they didn't lose a conference game, went to a championship game and the Celebration Bowl. So every year he continued to improve on what was there beforehand. So hopefully that's kind of a trend. As I keep saying, is that you need to be bowl eligible. You need to get to 6 wins. Some way, somehow get to 6 wins. If you can get to 6 wins, the name is out there, you're in a bowl game, most likely, and more people take note of this program and what they're doing. How do you get people to come? You show them what can be done with them in this system. So you're looking for an offense that someone sees and says, yes, I can be successful in that because my goal is to either pivot and go to a higher level team through NIL or to go to the next level. So, I mean, it's the way college football is now, right? I mean, we used to talk about, who could you can make these guys into pros. Who can you attract that you can show them that this is their path to become a professional football player? Well, that's changed a little bit. Now it's almost like, who can I bring in to take advantage of athletes that may be interested in parlaying that up into a bigger name program. And if that's the way it has to go right now, so be it. Because your goal is to build. Your goal is to build to a place where people don't want to just come to your team for a year or so. They want to stay there because they know what you are producing and what you're putting out into the league. But that is a building process. So if we look at this schedule and we take a really deep dive in this schedule, what games do we have that are on television, that we're not having a major competition with other bigger name programs, that we can make a name for ourselves. And those games are going to be a Thursday night game, October 9th, at home against Louisiana Tech. October 21st is a Tuesday, which is at FIU, and then the following Tuesday is at home against UTEP. Those 3 games, October 28th is that UTEP game. Those 3 games right there is how you get your name out there. What do you put on the field to get your name out there? Because if you're going to watch football on those days, you're watching Kennesaw State. So take full advantage of that. It's a national broadcast. Take full advantage of that. Okay, so we start off with the season. At Wake Forest on August the 29th, that's how the season starts. Now, normally I would have said that this is a loss at Wake Forest, but here's the thing to keep in mind. That's an interesting game, actually, because you have 2 brand new coaching staffs that don't know anything of what's coming. You know, it'd be tough to figure out what Coach Mack is bringing to the table since he doesn't have any film as him as a head coach since 2017. Other than that, he's been position coaches. So they may not, Wake Forest is going to have a tough time to prepare, but they have all summer to prepare. So we'll see. But the same is true with Wake Forest, is that you're going into, with Kennesaw State, you're going to Wake Forest with a brand new coaching staff. Hopefully that stupid mesh they use is finished, because I can't stand that offense, but whatever. Dave Clawson's gone. The Wake Forest school itself is not heavily invested into football. Wake Forest has gone downward the last few years to where they are not a very good team. I don't know. If ever there was an upset on this schedule, like a big time upset for Kennesaw State, it is this game. This is the game. It's perfect the way it lays out as far as the new coaching staff, preparation. It is this game. I'll come back to that as we kind of get closer, but I think that is the key game on this schedule to kind of pay attention to. Because if they win that game, that can really take care of things as the season goes on. The following week after Wake Forest, they're at Indiana. Based on what we saw with Indiana last year, that's a loss. Indiana's offense is explosive, and I think Kennesaw State will have a difficult time keeping up with them. September 13th, Merrimack College at home. That's a win. That is a low-level team. There is no reason they can't win that game. Kennesaw State can't win that game, so that's a win. So potentially, right there, 1-2, or if the craziness happens, 2-1. Go to Arkansas State. Arkansas State is one of those games which it could. You got to look a little bit further, right? So Kennesaw State plays Merrimack College the week before Arkansas State. They're not going to put a lot out there against Merrimack College. They don't need to. You probably win that game with a very vanilla game plan. However, the week before, Arkansas State travels to Kennesaw State. Arkansas plays against Iowa State, and they will put everything out there against Iowa State. And Iowa State probably wins that game, physical team for sure. So let's see how beat up Arkansas State is as well coming into that game against Kennesaw State. I have that down as a win. I just like I like everything kind of going about that. I like the lesser opponent the week before Arkansas State. I like Arkansas State playing a more difficult opponent. So I like kind of the way that comes together. So I'm saying Arkansas State's a win. Maybe a surprising win, but a win. And that has me at Kennesaw State at 2-2. If all things happen with Wake Forest, you're looking at 3-1. Go the next week. We have on Saturday, September 27th, Middle Tennessee State. That's at home at Kennesaw State. That's at home. So again, it's one of those games where you got to look a little bit deeper and see kind of what these teams are what are they doing? You know, what has happened beforehand that impacts what's happening right here. So as we said before, a week before Middle Tennessee State, Kennesaw State plays Arkansas State at home. Both home games. That's 3 home games in a row. Middle Tennessee State, however, plays at Wisconsin, at Nevada, and then home against Marshall. Now, Nevada's not a good team, and Marshall's not great, but Nevada's not a good team, but it is still travel. Going from Tennessee to Nevada and back, that's not easy. You're going to get beat up against Wisconsin because they're just going to pound the ball on you the whole time. And then Marshall, we'll see, but that's not easy by any means. That's not an easy path, and you could slip up and make a mistake and have quite a game there. So again, just based on how it lays out, I really like Kennesaw State in that game. I got that as a win, and that puts us at 3-2, 4-1 possibly, but let's say 3-2 just to be conservative. Next game is Thursday, October 9th. This is one of the 3 games that I mentioned. You're home against Louisiana Tech, who the week before would play at UTEP, which again has some travel there. Not crazy, but a little bit of travel. This is a big game. This is a bigger game than I think you would initially think, because of you're probably the only team in town playing at that time. You're at home. It's a conference game. I don't know. This game I go back and forth with. This is the one I continue to go back and forth with. I'll tell you why about that in just a second. But I kind of like Kennesaw State in this game. I do. I just like the way that it lines up with it being a Thursday. There's no advantages in rest. I don't know. I think that they know this is a big game. Once you get, the television audience is there, I like a win here. I got Kennesaw State right now at 3-2. So halfway there to becoming bowl eligible. The following week at FIU. I love this game for Kennesaw State. You've got 2 weeks to prepare for this game, where they have 1 week. They're playing Western Kentucky the week before on October 14th. Then you're traveling to FIU, who, like I said, plays Western Kentucky October 14th. This game is Tuesday, October 21st. You are the only game in town. You are being watched by people on ESPN who care about football, who are watching. You've definitely got some eyes on this product, so you must take advantage of that. And with having 2 weeks to get ready for them, also watching them against Western Kentucky, which they will not be holding back. Western Kentucky is a solid team. I like Kennesaw State in this game. I've liked them since I saw this schedule. I like this in this game a lot. So right now, if that's the case, I got Kennesaw State at 4-2. The next week against UTEP, again, UTEP the week before. So UTEP is playing Sam Houston on October 15th. The game against Kennesaw State is a Tuesday, which is October 28th. This is an interesting spot to be in. I don't know. This may be one of the harder ones to pick, because Sam Houston, and then you got 2 weeks to get ready for Kennesaw State, who's playing FIU on your bye week, which you get to scout them ahead of time, and they're going to throw everything they've got at FIU. Again, you're the only game in town. You are at home. I like Kennesaw State in that game, which, if that's the case, I've got them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I got us bowl eligible right there. I could see that game going either way, though. So as we look at the remaining schedule, I feel confident about 4 of these games. There's 2 of them, which is the Louisiana and the UTEP game, I feel a little less confident about. But yeah, I definitely I like where we're heading. And if we get to 4 wins, we've already doubled the win total from the year before. Great. And there are definitely wins left on the schedule. At New Mexico State may be one of them. In surprising fashion, I know. But Western Kentucky plays New Mexico State November 1st. We travel to New Mexico State on November 8th for the game. However, we have 2 weeks to prepare for New Mexico State, who is not a juggernaut by any means. So I really like Kennesaw State in this game. I think that's a win. So depending on how, we're keeping track, if everything goes beautifully, we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wins and 2 losses. 7-2. If things don't go well and we lose the games that we should be in to win, we're at 5 and doing the math, we're at 5-4. But still right there on the cusp of bowl eligibility. November 15th, Kennesaw State is at Jacksonville State. I don't love this game. I don't. I think that's a loss. Jacksonville State seems to be a team that kind of has it rolling right now, so I think that that's a loss. However, the following week, November 22nd, at home is Missouri State. This is a huge game. Why? Because Missouri State is now in Division I, is a Conference USA opponent. So you can have one Division II team to become bowl eligible. You can't have more than that, and they can't be in specific leagues such as the Ivy League. Merrimack College does not fall into that criteria, so we're good there. So you can use that for bowl eligibility. So if you beat Missouri State, you have 6 wins. And that is, I think, a very conservative estimate. I think that there's a very good argument to be made that you could have 8 wins with the win at Missouri State. Finally, you wrap the season up November 29th at Liberty. I don't love this game. I think that there's kind of revenge in mind from what happened last season. So I think that that's a loss. So flowers and rainbows, I have Kennesaw State 8-4. I think I have that right. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 8-4. Or less flowers and rainbows. I've got Kennesaw State 6-6, which works because that makes you bowl eligible. And in the magical happy-go-lucky world, I've got Kennesaw State 9-3 with a win at Wake Forest. So we will see kind of how that pans out. And again, this is so early in the season, looking at projections and what you think is going to happen and what teams are returning who. But I just there's certain games on here I definitely like the way the schedule lays out. It's a good schedule. I think that it's good experience to get paid to go and play these bigger teams such as a Wake Forest or an Indiana. Wake Forest, yeah. Indiana for sure. So you're making money on those games. At the same time, you're going to experience, especially the Indiana game, of that crowd and that size. And as far as the home games, to go on the road the first 2 weeks of the season, but then have, 4 consecutive home games, and they build, to come back from Indiana, play Merrimack College, it's like, get that confidence going, kind of figuring out kind of how things are clicking. Take that into the Arkansas State game. Win that game. Win that game against Arkansas State. 2 games. Positivity. Coming in with Middle Tennessee, who is on quite the road game. I mean, they have quite the schedule right before Kennesaw State, so take advantage of that. FIU is huge. I think if you're putting your product on television and you're the only game in town, those 2 weeks, October 21st and October 28th, are massive for the program. They must win those games. They must show what they can do and kind of advertise the product that they want to put out there on the field for people to get engaged with what's taking place at Kennesaw State, and I hope they can do that. We'll have more information coming with player development, what we're looking at as we kind of get close to the season. It's still early days, so we have some time. So I hope this podcast finds you doing well. I hope you enjoy the game tonight. And I hope it's a good game. I hate watching blowouts, especially when I'm a neutral. Obviously, if my team's playing, I would prefer a blowout. The old rocking chair game in the third quarter never hurt anybody. But with the game tonight, I don't have loyalty to every team, either of the teams. So let's see a good game. See what happens. All right, y'all. Take care. Be safe. Talk to you soon. Bye.